Hello, my name is Tola Kwebada, and today I will be discussing poverty and nutrition. I have some notes written down that I will be talking about when I'm having my presentation. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time if I'm looking down, that's the reason why. So, my agenda in this presentation would be introduction, relationship between poverty and nutrition, malnutrition, statistics for malnutrition, malnutrition and poverty, food insecurity, poverty, food insecurity, and double burden of malnutrition. Malnutrition, cause or consequence of poverty, the next steps, conclusion, and my reference. For my introduction. Despite social and financial progress, the global pressure of poor nutrition continues to be alarmingly high. Nutritional status, human resources, and economic status all have an important relationship. Malnutrition has a negative impact on people's mental and physiological capabilities, which reduces productivity by making them and their nation more vulnerable to poverty. Malnutrition is a huge problem all over the world. Malnutrition affects 2 billion people around the world in some form or another. The relationship between poverty and nutrition. Poor nutrition and poverty have a two-way relationship, forming a vicious cycle in which one fuels the other. Poverty is caused by poor nutrition because it reduces population's economic strength. And malnutrition is caused by poverty because it increases the likelihood of food shortages. Food and nutrition is another importance for health that has a gender disparity. Girls and women are more prone to be impacted by malnutrition. Malnutrition can also be caused by a lack of variety in high food quality. Even if people consume enough calories to meet their daily needs, they may experience hidden hunger due to the lack of energy and nutrient diversity in their diet. And this would be a great example for people that live in poor neighborhoods. People living in poor neighborhoods would not have access to good food quality. They might not have access to actually going to the store or market to buy like meat, chicken, or veggies, fruits and veggies that give them high quality. What would be close to their neighborhood would be like maybe a McDonald's or Burger King or Whataburger, just to name a few. And this food, even though they do have high calorie content in it, they are lacking the high food quality and the nutrients that they actually need. So say they buy two Big Macs or Whataburger and it says it has like 1,200 calories, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the nutrients in the food because we know fast food is not healthy food. And even though it has high calories, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the nutrients that they need, which would make them tired even after they've eaten it because you would think that because it has high calories, they'll have more strength. It will actually make them like super tired and super hungry. And these people they don't have access to good food. So what they have is what they'll be able to provide for their family because they would want to save money to like pay rent or buy things for their family, and they won't actually have like enough money to pay rent and also cook good food. So they can only like do certain stuff with their money at a certain time, which is like really sad to think about it, that people are living in those kind of conditions. Okay. No, oops, got too fast. Okay. for malnutrition, an inadequacy, abundance, or unequal distribution of energy and other macro and micronutrients is referred to as malnutrition. It is categorized by different degrees of malnutrition or overnutrition, which results in alteration in body composition, operation, and patient outcomes. In other words, malnutrition is a broad term that encompasses all forms of nutritional deficiencies, ranging from severe starvation and malnutrition to overweight. So malnutrition, I used to think malnutrition only meant being like underweight or malnourished, but I came to find out that it also meant being overweight as well. Despite progress and prosperity, the global burden of malnutrition continues to remain unacceptable. Okay. Statistics for malnutrition. Despite progress and prosperity, the global burden of malnutrition continues to remain unacceptable. According to current statistics, 800 million people are severely underweight, and 790 million of them living in low countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. In 2017, insufficient food consumption and unhealthy nutrition quality were explicitly or obliquely accountable for causing ill health, with nutritional imbalances according to 5 of the top 10 worldwide risk variables. In 2020, national risk factors were liable for 12 million premature deaths and 256 million disability adjusted for life. Malnutrition affects kids under the age of 5, with forecasts estimating that 145 million children under the age of 5 were hindered short for their age, while 48 million ruined thin for their height and 39 million obese in 2020. Obesity has become more common in adults in developed countries, with 39.9% of the adult population being obese or overweight. Despite the fact that women have a high rate of obesity, which is 16.1%, than men, which is 12%. Millions of women worldwide are still skinny, and 1/3 of women are approximated in iron deficiency anemia. I actually had a friend that came to visit me in the summer, and I saw her, she was eating ice all the time. And I was asking her, why was she always like eating and chewing ice? She told me it's because she had anemia, and she is also like super skinny too. So that was like really mind blowing to find out that she did, because we went to high school together, but I didn't know that she had anemia. I digress. Malnutrition and poverty. Malnutrition has consistently been associated to poverty, as regions with severe poverty have higher rates of malnutrition. Poverty has a variety of effects on people, including poor diet, food shortages, disease weakness, productivity loss, and hampered motor and cognitive advancement. People living in poverty also lack access to basic needs, such as nutritious food, a sanitary atmosphere, shelter from the elements, and proper healthcare. As a result, even though malnutrition is a global problem, those who live in poverty bear a greater hardship. This can be said about living in America, because there are some places in America, or even we all know, that people are living good and healthy, and have like access to good food and good source of food, while there's also people living in severe poverty that their neighborhoods are so bad and they don't have access to good food. So it's really sad that there's like an unequal balance of people living like really good and healthy, while people are like living really bad and unhealthy. I just wish that we could like balance this thing out. But food insecurity. To examine the critical links between poverty and food nutrition, it is critical to emphasize the increasing evidence that psychosocial factors, such as the situation and environment in which people are living, learning, working, and even playing, have a massive effect on their healthcare outcomes, including poor nutrition. This was just what I was talking about how like living environment affects like so many things about us. It affects the way we live, where we work, where our kids go to school. Like if you live in a poor neighborhood, the school there is likely gonna be not advanced enough for kids, or doesn't have enough resources for the children. It just is a sad thought. Um, the idea of poverty and food insecurity can be used to illustrate the link between people's situation and environment and their health. The term food insecurity describes a situation in which individuals do not have sufficient food due to physical, cultural, or financial constraints. Food insecurity is measured on four aspects: sustainable food production, availability of food, supply consistency, and healthy and safe food consumption. Food insecurity can take many forms, including geographical, governmental, residence, and personal. Low income families in high income nations spend a huge proportion of income on food. Especially living in the terms of COVID now that everything has gotten like so expensive. It's I work at a grocery store, so I see a lot of family that use food stamps, and like majority of what they buy with food stamps, I mean, it's in the name food stamps, so obviously it's food, but majority of everything they have to buy is they don't even buy like a lot of like healthy stuff, even though they do have food stamps. They mostly buy like junk food because they think it's filling, and like healthy food costs money. So they would want to save more money by not buying enough healthy food so they can like use the money to last them the whole month. And it's just like I see so many of them and I feel so sad for them. And I know it's not their fault, it's just circumstances that grouped people like certain way. Despite spending a significant portion of their household income on food, many poor families are still vulnerable to food insecurity due to inadequate, random, or oscillating earnings, especially with people not having jobs now. Some people not having jobs because of COVID. It's I know it would have taken a toll on like a lot of people. Poverty, food insecurity, and double burden of malnutrition. Food insecurity and poverty have a strong relationship. Poverty creates insecure and undesirable conditions, which can exacerbate the malnutrition issue. People in poverty frequently face budget restrictions, making it difficult for them to obtain secure, adequate, and healthy meals, just like what I was talking about before. Food insecurity jeopardizes people's ability to obtain the quantity of food requirements to meet their bodily calorie requirements. And without enough calories, a person may not be able to build enough energy or power to carry out daily actions, which also affects their earning capabilities and capacity. So you don't have enough food to eat, which makes you unable to work, which makes you unable to make money. And if you can't make money, you don't have enough money to buy food. It's just like a vicious cycle. Micronutrient inadequacies can affect people of all ages and economic groups. In low and middle income nations, vitamin A, folate, iodine, iron, and zinc inadequacies are among the most widespread and common nutritional deficiencies among children and women, and many of these nutritional deficiencies coexist. Micronutrient inadequacies must be considered when accessing the link between poor and nutrition and poverty. While both macro and micronutrient inadequacies can lead to inadequate cognitive growth, frequent infections, and stunned growth, micronutrient deficiencies can also lead to poor pregnancy outcomes, such as babies born with low birth weight. Poverty and food insecurity and double burden of malnutrition continued. When looking at nutritional poverty process, it is important to remember the double burden of malnutrition and the significance of nutrients. There is an increasing need to reinterpret the notion of malnutrition, and development agencies and lawmakers should make new advancements to account that both factors have an effect and inherent complications in order to develop effective and long-term nutritional methods. Malnutrition, cause or consequences of poverty. Poverty and malnutrition are both fueling and reinforcing each other in a vicious cycle. The poorest nations are the ones with the highest rates of malnutrition. Inadequate nutrition reduces work ability and human resources, making countries more vulnerable to economic hardship. Malnutrition is also a result of poverty. As poverty rises, food shortages and eating appetites, both of which makes a contribution to malnutrition issue. A state's financial stability is adversely affected, making it more susceptible to poverty. Food insecurity is a resource constraint or related to poverty situation that is escalated by poverty. As a result, both of these components are a cause and effect of one another. The implications and final points that occur within the structures of this subject would be overlooked if a linear connection between the variables were established. One more time. And what are the next steps that we could take to make malnutrition and poverty decline? To advance socio-economically, it is critical to acknowledge the impact of poverty and inadequate nutrition and to take immediate stages to stop the cycle. It is essential to understand what variables nourish and strengthen this goal in order to accomplish it. Given the interconnections and poor nutrition and poverty, nutrition-specific initiatives must be supplemented with nutrition-sensitive initiatives to speed up the effort to reduce food insecurity. Nutritional initiatives should be planned in a comprehensive, all-encompassing way. Nutritional interventions should be context-specific and cost-effective to prolong sustainable development, maintain prolonged sustainable development, especially since these issues which affect low to middle income nations. And in conclusion, the first of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is to eliminate poverty in all of its aspects, following by reducing hunger, limiting food shortages, and improving nutrition and farming. In addition, at least 12 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals include indicators that are absolutely significant to nutrition. Poverty and poor nutrition are inevitably linked. Which one feeds the other? This is therefore critical to address both issues at the same time, rather than separate silos. Both components are the cause and consequence of one another, forming a two-way connection. The virtuous spiral is still a significant public health concern, and instant action is required to break it. To accomplish a healthy and nutritious and more fair society, the fight against poverty and inadequate nutrition must be waged in all fronts in order to see a long-term improvement in nutritional results. These are my references, and thank you. Thank you and have a great day.